Yes, I guess. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Are we on, Doris? Great. Greetings, welcome to the July 6th meeting of the Harbor Committee. We have a full attendance. Hillary Thayer, Herbert Sample, Marianne Eddy, Vice Chair John Parker, Lily Fell, and our new attorney, Liz Vale. And do we have a representative? Oh, I think Chick said he's going to be here via Zoom.
Oh, he's on, so I can say him.
Okay,
I am here, Will.
greetings.
Good evening.
And I want to mention our producer. Our producer.
Doris Alvarez.
Thank you. Good job.
Okay, welcome you all. Nice. Chick. All right, I better get this.
So we're gonna have Chick. Oh, Chick is our, yes, got it.
We're doing minutes now?
Yes, I think we'll start with the minutes. Has everybody read the minutes?
Yes.
Yes.
Are there any questions?
No.
I have two.
Okay,
Okay. One is under the Pumpkin Partners, 22 Long Point Road. On the second page, it says the board reviewed and updated and discussed the updated materials. And I believe that it was noted that Nelson Pope and Voorhees was preparing a response to those materials. And we would receive that at the next meeting. And that was at least one reason for the adjournment. So I'd just like to note that there were new materials and Nelson Pope and Voorhees was responding to them. And we're to get that response at some point. The next one is right below that. It says, member John Parker discussed pump out and no discharge enforcement issues. Now, I can understand at times I can monopolize the discussion, but I can recall that I wasn't the only one who discussed that. So I think it should be, whether my name's in there or not, but the committee discussed that. I also remember that Steve Clark commented on it. He's a former chair of the Harbor Committee, and Billy Mack of First Coastal also commented.
That's under session.
do you have meeting notes?
Hmm?
Do you have an agenda?
No, well,
I have two.
that was under number one, under discussion one about the transient dock and no discharge. They also may have commented about the other one, but they did. Yeah, Steve Clark did present on the breakwater, and I'm not sure what order that was in, which one we discussed first, but I just know that both Steve Clark and Billy Mack commented on when we talked about the no discharge enforcement.
Any other comments? That was it, John?
That's it, yeah.
Okay, so do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion.
I'll second.
So noted, so these minutes have been approved.
Or no, we have all in favor.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll repeat this.
So comments and questions from the
No.
public.
Is there anybody in the public that has a comment or a question they'd like to present? Anybody up there? Okay, great. So we'll move on to correspondence requiring action. Item 3, a request to renew expired chapter 285 wetlands permit issued to Patrick McDonough, dated January 7th, 2021 at 62 West Water Street, identified as SCTM 903-212.3.
Correct. Is there an applicant here to make this request? No.
So I guess this gets tabled until our August
Want
meeting.
to table to the end of the meeting or you want to?
Okay, let's, okay,
Second call it?
so we can table that. A quick meeting. Pumpkin Partners. We received a email from InterScience stating that Mike would not be here tonight, so we are going to
Table.
table this until our August meeting. At that time, I believe Chick and Nelson Porvojes will present. Chick had written to me earlier and asking if he could present today, and given that Mike's not going to be here, it seemed to be unnecessary or redundant. So we'll wait. Hopefully, Pumpkin Partners will present in August.
Is that something that we and possibly Pumpkin Partners can get in advance of the next meeting?
Yes, John, we'll have a review of the submitted materials to the committee by noon on Tuesday before the Thursday meeting for August.
And Doris, they've adjourned this, they've requested to table this how many times now? Is this the third or fourth time?
I believe it's the third time.
Third time?
I think actually, I think there was one more than that, but anyway, that's.
Yeah,
it was
it
two,
feels
you know,
like-
two, but maybe two in a row, but there was one before that, so.
Yeah,
But I think they wanted to proceed at the last meeting, and then we were gonna wait for NPV's response, so.
Well, they also submitted some new material just before the last meeting. so
That's right.
That'll
Yeah.
be part of this review.
right.
Okay, excellent. We don't have any set procedure when somebody has asked to table a application. Do you know in any of the other committees if it's been tabled 3 times or something? Does it go back to the?
No, and ZBA was considering something like that because one time, but it's very rare. One time an application they never came back and they tabled every time for like a year. When it's
Oh.
egregious like that, you can take action. But generally speaking, all the other boards also accommodate requests for adjournments.
Yeah.
Due to scheduling or whatever the issues are.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think as long as they
Applicants
contact
request
us,
and they
yeah.
contact you and they make the request in advance of the meeting.
Yeah, Mike did write to us.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Well, I'll just add that the application has been active, even as recently as a month ago. And Mike Shiano had mentioned to Brandt that he was not available for this meeting. So I
That's
think
right.
there's been, good communication, and it will come back for the August 2nd meeting.
Yeah.
August 3rd, I think it is.
Exactly. Okay. So do I hear a motion to table this until
I make a motion to table until August, what's the date, Doris? August 3rd.
I'll second.
Okay,
All
all
of-
those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Doris? Okay, thank you. New business. We have an application from Breakwater Yacht Club for a wetlands permit pursuant to chapter 285 the Sag Harbor Village Code for the proposed installation of a 6-foot by 70-foot floating dock and an 8-foot by 40-foot floating finger dock, which will become an extension of the Sag Harbor Village's dinghy dock into Sag Harbor Bay. No upland improvements are proposed at this time. Is there somebody from Breakwater? Okay, do I hear a motion?
Make a motion, open the public hearing.
One second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Hi, everybody, Billy Mack, First Coastal, representing Breakwater. I guess some of you were here actually were on. Simple point. Well, we discussed it last meeting. It's a very simple project to tell you the truth. We're just trying to gain a little more access for the available folks at Breakwater Yacht Club, which you guys know is a community-based sailing club, from kids to young adults, to big adults. And we're looking to get access and docking access specifically for some of the larger boats in that part of that facility, and this is a plan to increase the docking space that's immediately out of the way of everything, provides really good access.
So we discussed this a little bit. You've got a timeshare, so to speak, with the harbor master.
We do. He's encouraged by it because the recent improvements on the docks in the village have limited the amount of drop-off spots. And this to them is a very good drop-off spot. Meaning drop off passengers, pick up passengers, and easy access for the dinghies to do that, or for bigger boats because of the size.
How large a boat do you think you can accommodate?
We can accommodate easily a 30-foot boat.
Would there be a time limit for how long people could dock there, or is it?
Yeah, the breakwater will kind of manage what's going on there. And there's something every day. We're encouraged to.
Mary Ann,
Well,
you're familiar with the site. You have,
I am.
Sorry, excuse me. Now the paper that is.
Oh. Well, that's tough.
Doris, can you hear me?
Doris, yeah, you muted the board.
We
can hear you.
We can hear you.
Can you hear us, Chick?
Yes, the sound was muted coming from the room.
Here is the area over here is purple. So these what we're looking to do is, if anybody's familiar with those docks down there, there used to be the old mobile pier, they called it. That was removed. That still shows up on this as the part that sticks out.
Mhm.
So this would
Can we fold this on down a little bit and then
focus on what's.
focus on what's happening?
So here we have the village existing dinghy docks that are on a wire system. This was the old mobile pier
Right.
that was since removed. It's just a little stub of the dock right now.
Yeah.
What we're looking to do is extend out to about exactly that length and over about halfway to accommodate some of these larger sailboats for the youth and adult sailing. The footprint is very consistent with this area. So I think we're using a smart sense of the use of this part of the harbor. Very little activity over there. The pier used to stick out exactly the same length. So, and it's obviously right next door to the break dock.
so how does that align with the breakwater? Will it go,
So this is the breakwater property here.
right?
Their access would be right here down this existing ramp onto the floating docks that are the dinghy docks now.
Right.
And extend exactly out, I think it's 50 or 60 feet and then over 40 feet.
But does it go into the fairway?
Not at all.
Okay, so, because that's what you just said before, is that it aligns with,
It aligns with this old dock here.
oh, that's important.
That
That's
definitely
gone.
did not go into the fairway.
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah, it's shorter than the mobile oil dock.
It is.
Yes, it's so.
This is it, right?
Yeah.
And
And what's the space between the two docks? The pre-existing breakwater dock and then the finger dock,
That is
where they park the J70s,
space between the two.
like here,
So,
right here.
that remains the same, it's parallel. I don't know if I have a dimension on that, I might have that in my updated plan.
Between these?
Yeah, this distance here.
Well, to here, right?
Yeah, it is to scale. I don't have a scale with me. I'm sorry.
It's that 40 feet.
This is 46 feet, so that looks like about 12, 15 feet.
I think it's.
I'd
right.
say it's probably about
This is
25 feet.
46.
Yeah, maybe tricky to scale it, but I would agree with the 25 feet. I looked-
Really?
That's
What's the topography underneath there?
very deep.
Is it?
Yes, the whole area. And these shaded, well, it says right there, 11 feet. So it's very deep.
And this is the dock that exists just
That's
now.
the existing.
Breakwater, yeah,
Yes,
coast dock.
exactly. And
Right.
here's where they pull up the JYs.
Right,
They do store the bigger boats right here, right now. It's very congested.
right. So it doesn't go out any farther into, right?
No.
So,
Yeah, well, that would be, and Bob Borge has given his,
His blessing. Yes, I think he even did that in writing. There's a memo circulating.
yeah,
Are you still waiting for further approval by the DEC and the Army Corps of Engineers on this? I think I noticed a letter in here that said that
They've
those
all
were
had
pending.
feedback. They like the project. What they want us to do is to update the license area under the underwater license, which is in the process of doing that right now. The DEC said they're issuing a conditional permit based on the license being granted. The OGS, Department of General Services, is in the process of updating the license to
This is the license with the state,
exactly
yes,
underwater license.
license.
And that they swap those out quite a bit, oddly.
if you didn't have the license for that underwater land, could you still function? What's the difference between having a lease and not?
I don't know the difference, to tell you the truth. I think it's just a cleaner process for the state to issue a permit if it's got an OGS license on it, which is typical if there are no underwater other agencies like the Southampton Town Trustees or
Right.
East Hampton Town Trustees. Since we do not have those,
Yeah,
the OGS acts in that capacity.
okay,
Because the yacht yard has a lease
Correct.
for the underwater lands there.
As does the village. As does the Sac Harbor Yacht Club.
oh, man.
Something.
Coffee's on.
Yeah, right.
so that's the DEC permit. Where are you with the Army Corps?
Army Corps, they issued a letter of concurrence already, which means they don't really have an issue.
Okay.
And that would be concurrent with the state issued permit,
And you have to wait for all these to tumble in before you can pound the first nail, or?
pretty much. But we'd love to get your blessing. We'll go a long way with the other agencies.
Does, Chick, have you reviewed this and do you have an opinion? I don't think I saw a report.
We've reviewed it in detail, John, and other members. We did issue a completeness report on June 1st.
Okay,
We
for
had found it to be sufficiently complete for a public hearing at that time. We had a couple of minor comments, although they came in kind of late. Billy's group did respond to that, and we just received that correspondence today. There is an updated plan dated June 30th, I believe it is. And, our observations are very much in line with your discussion. The water's deep, it's over 11 feet. It's 57 feet to the dock to the west. There's no interference to the north. It's very similar to the dock to the east, and it looks like about a 25-foot separation. They are floating docks. I think the only clarification that was new to me that we got today was that they will be permafloats. So I think Billy can explain, but they'll be set with pilings and remain in the water as long as they're serviceable. We haven't really had icing conditions lately, but that'll be up to management and monitoring. I don't see that as being an issue. There's no vegetated tidal wetlands in the area. There's no interference with the bottom. It is water dependent in terms of its use, so it's certainly consistent with the LWRP. It's a non-residential activity, so we believe it's a type 2 action under seeker, and I don't see any impediments at all. So John, if you or the board members have any questions, that's our review at this time. It seems like an okay project.
So you're recommending, long and short of it is that you're recommending approval.
If the committee directs us to prepare a permit, we certainly can. They've answered all of our questions. And yes, to the extent that my input is important, we would certainly recommend that this can be approved by direction of the committee.
No environmental issues that we should be aware of, et cetera. So
I have a question. So if you're putting in permadoc and it freezes, what happens?
Well, generally what happens is the breakwater yacht club would monitor that. If it does look like they're icing over, there's either two activities we can take. And that would be to bring the floats closer to shore and secure them. Or to put in ice, what's known as ice eaters or bubblers,
Right,
Yeah.
which is very common. Most of the harbor has ice eaters throughout it
right.
during the.
When was the last winter that really presented serious ice?
Yours.
It's been a while.
In many years.
Couple years.
yeah, I mean, I can remember. I can remember trying to paddle into the harbor in my kayak and finding out that the entire harbor was iced over and you couldn't get into it. But that was several years ago. That it may be 8 years ago, something like that. 2015. 2015, we had 2015, the bay iced over. And we had some floating flows of ice that took out some things. But
Are you ready for the motion?
Yes, do I hear a
Make a-
motion to,
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
it's a public hearing, so you
Oh,
have to
yeah.
go to the public, sorry.
is there anybody from the public that would like to
Thanks,
speak?
Biz.
No comments from the,
I don't, have any.
nobody on this.
there's
Okay.
nobody online either. Okay, thank you.
So I guess we make a motion to close the hearing.
I make a motion to close public hearing.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so
Thank you guys very much.
Well, you're not done yet.
you're not done.
Drag it on a little more.
Yeah.
We have to make a motion to just, right, so stay there for just a minute.
Yeah.
So I'll make a motion to ask Nelson Pope and Voorhees to draw up a permit relevant to this application.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so Chick, s'il vous plaît.
Understood. We'll have a permit prepared for the August 3rd meeting.
Great.
Great.
Billy, before you leave the room, you can go sit down, but before you leave the room, I have another topic I'd like to include you in, so. And since we're very close to terminal velocity here, is there anything else on the agenda that we need to discuss?
No, that's it.
Okay,
What is?
Well, the first, adjournment, the extension or renewal.
62 West.
Oh,
Yeah.
There's still nobody there from that.
So Doris, you might want to let them know that we've adjourned this because there was nobody here to talk to us. Sometimes they think it's automatic. And it's not quite that
Ah.
automatic.
good point. Very good point. Yeah, so you will notify them.
I checked my email just to see if
Nothing.
A little bit of business, a few meetings ago, we had Bob Borje here, and we talked to him at length about pump out, et cetera. And subsequently, the harbor master has come up with a protocol that just came out today, and he mentioned that he was going to share this with Breakwater and the Yacht Club and maybe with Ken D, et cetera. This is what it is. Mary Ann, would you like to read this?
Sure. Harbor Master. Marine Patrol law enforcement officers will be conducting random marine sanitary device inspections throughout the season. Please know that Sag Harbor lies within the Peconic Estuary System, and all discharge of marine waste is expressly prohibited by New York Navigation Law 33-E. This includes all waste treated by an onboard marine sanitary system. In addition, All overboard discharge system valves must be in the off position and secured by a wire tie, chain, or heavy non-resealable tape. Sag Harbor Village, in partnership with the town of Southampton trustees, offers free pump-out service and can be hailed on VHF Channel 73. Thank you for your anticipated cooperation, Sag Harbor Harbor Master.
This was, we gave them a lot of pressure, and with unbeknownst to us, Mr. Borje and his colleagues put this together. As I said, it was just printed today. I picked it up from Chris, and he mentioned that he was going to present it to all of the clubs. And I don't know that Kindy can. I mean, it's not illegal for him to have these.
It's good for him.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But so.
It's good, it's spreading the word.
He's
Yeah.
great.
Now, it was interesting when I spoke to Chris today at the Harbor Master's office. He said that they gave, I believe, if Chris, if you're listening, correct me, but 4 citations over the weekend to boats that were in the big scale. And maybe it was before July 4th weekend, because they came to the village and they protested. And I don't know what the legal ramifications have been of their protest.
I'm sorry, what
Who
they.
Can you repeat that?
They,
Will?
they protested the,
They were ticketed, cited
they were ticketed, and
by
so
whom?
by the harbor master
For what?
for,
Why valves open?
yeah, gray water.
And they protested?
No, look, I'm just sharing this, and it's not a reflection on anybody.
Other than
I just want you to know, everybody, that they did go out, they talked to some big guys, and they went on board. And apparently it's legal, like it is for Chris Talbot, I guess, to go onto property. And because
It's legal. We went through that
Yeah.
some years ago, the Bob Boykin board boats.
yeah,
He's
so he did that, and they're all
officer.
professional captains. I think he cited a couple smaller boats. So I'll try to follow up with the legal part of it, but I thought it was interesting that these guys objected. And I don't think it's clear to them that gray water is also not allowed in the Peconic Bay, right? So they have very sophisticated sewage treatment plants on board. And the water that comes out is probably equivalent to the water that comes out of our,
That we jump in the harbor.
that we dump into the harbor. And so their argument was,
There's no basis for saying that.
Yeah.
Absolutely no basis for that.
Well,
You know,
the
that's
different standard of-
That's a reason why it was made a no discharge zone, and that was not the exception. It's in the report, it's in the Federal Register.
Okay, John,
So.
chill.
okay, this is all just kind of new information for us in a certain way. The bottom line is, I think the harbor master really responded to some comments we had about checking boats. They've been doing that. And the legal part is not something we deal with, but it's all
So-
educational.
Question, how are those being distributed? When people go and make a reservation through, what's the name of the system?
DACWA is the.
DACWA, right?
Good question, if
Can
that's on
that
there.
be, yeah, can that be a link? Do
Yeah.
we have any ability to edit our, entry there?
That's a good,
I can check it later.
yeah, that would be great.
Yeah,
I'm assuming it would be on there. I hope it would be on there.
or that when they make a reservation, that pops up, or maybe both. So there's like, well, nobody told me. I mean, that's not, an excuse, but it just cuts out that conversation.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going out on a limb a little bit. I would think at some point it would be important for us to demonstrate our support for what he's doing, and that we are totally supportive of the policy of inspections, right?
I think so. I think this is what we've asked.
Yeah.
The next level of investigation might be the number of boats that are cited, the number of boats that are visited in the season. That was
So-
something we would want.
Before, maybe I'm wrong, but I thought Bob usually went out with a group of people. He didn't go out himself. He went out with some DEC people and some other,
Force or something.
Yeah.
Members.
and people from East Hampton. So is what you're suggesting, or what you've heard, is that Bob alone, just with Sag Harbor people, went out and boarded these boats. I think that's kind of new, but I may not be right.
That's my understanding, and I'll go
Right.
back and talk to Chris to confirm that, but that's,
Okay, all good.
yeah, to Herb's point, I think this is really fantastic. This was done pretty quickly, and so, Billy, hopefully you'll get these, and it's,
Just the awareness alone speaks volumes that the village is issuing this.
yeah,
And, I think people will pay attention.
And I'm sure the Breakwater and Sag Harbor Yacht Club will be amenable to handing cards out upon.
yeah.
Yeah, this is great, well done.
Well, I think it's great too. I mean, this is, good progress, but it's not the end all of this. One of the things that we were looking at is that, the waterways law provides that the village board should approve procedures and schedules for doing these inspections. And it's my understanding that the Harbor Committee was going to make some recommendations to the village board as to what those should be. And I think that we still have that, have that obligation. So. I
The
think it's-
mayor suggested to me that the liaison between the Harbor Committee and
Harbor Master.
the Harbor Master will be done through Jean, who is the new trustee. And she's also going to be the liaison with the building department. I haven't seen it set in concrete, but that's.
Well, that's fine. It's a process. I mean, it's a process. that
So
we need to
I think that
go through.
I recommend everybody here get to know Tony and get to know people in the Harbor Master's office. You can walk up and talk to them. It's a learning experience. It's like going to the sewage treatment plant. That's the e-ticket as far as I'm concerned in this town.
So Lily, at one point, did you suggest that we might be able to, not maybe as a group, but individually, because we're kind of a large group, go out with Tony sometime? Do you know him personally? Is that what you were telling me?
I don't know him, but I've spoken to other people who said he'd be more than amenable, and he's a really great guy. Just consistently through the various captains I've
It'd
spoken
be
to.
interesting to actually go out, because we talk about it as sort of an abstraction to actually see what's going on.
Yeah, and that's the other issue. I mean, one of the issues that we discussed, last time, which is important, is whether there is sufficient availability of the pump out boat. I mean, we have basically one pump out boat with a larger number of boats than anywhere else in Southampton town, or I think in East Hampton town, and they have more boats. And that partly maybe because we're sort of, halfway in the middle. We only have one boat, and I'm not sure, I'm still not clear whether that boat is being manned, at least 12 hours a day, 7 days,
It's not.
7 days a week.
They actually cut Tony's, Southampton town cut Tony's overtime,
And if,
and he often works overtime on his own, just out of his good will.
I think
And tips.
he works close to
Tips.
10 to 12 hours on the weekend, and during the week, it's not that much.
Right.
And the demand during the week is not as intense. From what the harbor master has said to me, Tony is the guy that is doing the best job possible, that he's not getting to the boats. The only way we're going to hear about that is if we're down on the dock. If Breakwater hears from somebody, they came in, they got on the radio and they couldn't get a response, that's a problem, right? So that helps if we walk the docks and talk to people, Derek Dale, et cetera.
And I know from my own experience, I've never had a problem getting through to Tony. You might have to wait a little bit, but he is amazing. He gets done, he gets back to everybody and says, I'll be there in an hour, and you're 45 minutes, just hold on. It'll work.
That's good.
I still like the idea of the cell pump out station. And do we need more gray matter, another holding area? Is that something to keep?
Well, I think they're pretty good about having the truck come in and offloading the tank when it fills up. But I don't know, we could ask Tony, but I don't think he's ever gone to the holding tank and found it full when he wanted to offload from the boat, right?
Or again, we keep pursuing getting, seeing if Sag Harbor Yacht Club, we can figure out how to hook that up to the sewer system.
They don't want to hook it up to the sewer system because it's different types of effluent than what is in the sewers. So you can't take gray water from the boats and put it in our sewage treatment plant.
Some places have,
Huh?
some places have.
Some places have, but I've always heard from Aiden that that's not what we are about here.
Yeah, I think that's an opinion, but, which I respect, but right now it doesn't seem catastrophic. It would be good at some point to try to identify a location that would be suitable for self-pump out.
This New York State law that requires that sewage treatment plants accept the effluent from pump outs unless, and I can't remember the exact language, but it's unless there's some exigent circumstances where they can't. And so I think that that's still something to look at. I did discuss this with the engineer from Cameron Associates, Mark Wagner. He said that they could experiment by taking small amounts of it to see if it had any, negative effect. So I mean, I think that, there is something that's open if that's a problem. And in other words, if the holding tank being full is a, is a problem. I do know that in other places, they've used the ability to go right into the sewer system as a way to facilitate, pump outs. But I think we ought to look at all of these, including whether we need another pump out boat, et cetera. I do want to try to clarify this a little bit in terms of the language, in terms of gray water and black water. Any system that's had any septic, toilet put into it is considered black water. It doesn't get into gray water. Gray water is the discharge from, showers, the sinks, that kind of thing. The problem is that some of the boats, have a system that combines them. And, and based upon New York State rules, and I think federal rules as well, once they're combined, it's all considered to be, to be black water. When the no discharge was put into effect, the no discharge zone was put into effect, that issue was considered, and there was a public hearing on it. And the response, and it's part of the Federal Register, and I thought I had sent it out to members of the committee a couple months ago. But basically, it says that there's been no certification that these systems on these yachts meet any of the standards of ground-based sewage treatment plants, which are checked on a regular basis. The systems on the yachts, even if theoretically they would meet the same standards, they're not checked regularly as the ground-based, sewage treatment plants are. And it was on that basis that it was decided to make it a no discharge zone, including no discharge from those systems.
That's a good point, because at this STP, there's the DEC drop in episodically. They've got all of their science to support the status of the tanks, whereas a boat doesn't. Well,
Where are we going here?
it's just almost TMI, but
All right.
There's no rule against adjourning before 6 o'clock, is there?
there's one little last thing. There's
5:45.
one last thing that I want to
Okay.
suggest. Billy, you can go. Thank you.
Thank you guys very
Yeah.
much.
Bye, welcome, good night.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
What I want to do is get John to meet with the East Hampton equivalent of the Harbor Committee. And I want Herb, who I haven't asked yet, to do the equivalent with Southampton, so that we can bring to this group information about what's going on with
Well,
wetlands.
There really isn't, Chuck, you told me, but I don't think that there's an equivalent of the Harbor Committee in East Hampton or in Southampton, is there? Isn't it all under zoning and blah, blah, blah?
Well, Southampton Town is either the Conservation Board or in some cases, individual boards such as the Planning Board.
Right.
East Hampton, I'm not quite as familiar with, but, you know, we have processed natural resource permits in the town of East Hampton, and that's all through town, environmental. So they do have laws, but there's no direct equivalent of the Harbor Committee. It's a separate board with
That's
just
right.
those
Right.
duties.
Did you have a thought?
Well, the town of Southampton governs wetlands through its conservation board.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's what I
The
wanted.
town of East Hampton processes its wetland permits through the NRSP, which is through the zoning board of appeals.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I
But the
propose,
park, docks and things like that are all trustees, the freeholders in both towns, which are separate entities, as you know.
so I think it would be, it would illuminate, I think, some of the confusion about what these different communities are doing with a somewhat similar situation. So if Herb can reach out to Southampton,
Which particular situation? I mean, everything that falls under our domain, or are we talking specifically about pump out and
no,
wastewater and black water and?
no, just
No.
wetland stuff, like, I think
Waivers.
North Haven has just instituted can't quite get it, a water resource board or some such
Have
thing.
a trustee for North Haven, right?
Okay, so what, yeah,
There's a committee that Terry Diop, the trustee.
that's right.
Is heading, that's trying to kind of piggyback on what you guys have done. Dr. Butler and to do water quality studies and just to be aware of what's going on and what we can do as a village to improve water quality. And also, last night we adopted for the first time a wetland setback requirement. It's always been kind of a policy, but like a lot of things in North Haven, it was a little loosey-goosey and there was nothing in the code to support it, so we finally just put it in the code.
What is it?
A requirement,
What is the setback?
75 feet.
Good job.
Yeah. So that,
And it doesn't provide for any board to grant waivers. And the understanding is that, well, it's automatic, that anybody can appeal what's in a decision on the basis of this code by the planning board or the building inspector, can appeal to the zoning board of appeals for a waiver. And that was my question last night, and that was the answer I got. I'm not sure if it holds water.
Yeah,
There's no equivalent in Little North Haven to your kind of board.
right, and it's very interesting because I feel very proud of the fact that there's a lot of science that backs our decisions.
Yeah.
And I think other communities are a little more subjective. And that's just why I wanted to reach out to our neighbors to the north, east, and west to get a little, insight. It's not harmful. I think communication between all, I mean, we can throw a stone at North Haven, and yet we don't know what's going on. I think it would be helpful. I don't think it would be harmful.
But just working for the paper for 40 years, you get an interesting point of view of how each town and each village does everything a little differently.
Right.
Yeah,
Has different setups and organizations, it's kind of confusing and some work better than others. There's nothing like the Harbor.
great. Okay.
And the Harbor Committee didn't used to do that. I mean, that's sort of an add-on to the Harbor Committee's duties. And it used to be through the village board. I can't remember the exact date when that changed.
well, with the wetlands law, that set up the Harbor Committee.
No,
and-
it did not. The Harbor Committee was set up under the LWRP.
Okay, but then when you have a chapter 285, it clearly says that the approving authority is the Harbor Committee.
And what that was basically an amendment to it.
No, it's like 285-5.
I believe it's an amended version of that, because the original what was under the village board. It was not under the harbor.
Okay,
I did this
on that note,
He sent it to me.
Make a motion to-
do I hear a motion?
Now,
to-
wait, now
I
you
made-
asked me to bring something here, Will.
Someone locked in, I'm not sure if they're representing.
Okay,
Previous party for the house.
is there somebody in the Zoomosphere that would like to speak?
162 West Water Street, renewal of the wetlands permit.
They're not responding to you?
No.
Okay,
Okay.
Now, Will, you asked me to bring something and I brought it,
okay,
okay?
but you realize we're under a world record here. so-
Yeah, well,
Don't
no,
break it.
actually, I believe when you were on vacation last year, and I was chairing the meeting, that we did it more quickly than this, but anyway.
So put your map over here, around that table.
But what we have here is, I was asked about the outfalls from the stormwater sewers. And there is a series of maps for the entire village, showing all of the stormwater sewage systems. And unfortunately, it's so big that you can't just email it to different people. And I actually have a printed version of this, and it's 7 maps. And it shows every sewer drain, every sewer pipe from the stormwater system, and every outfall. And the important part of this is that there are road ends and
see
outfalls
this,
of
Herb?
pipes where
I've seen the smaller one.
where there's no treatment set up. In other words, it's simply a pipe from road drains that goes out into the water. And I'm sure that Chick still there is familiar with this. And the point simply being that, we should try to update recommendations as to doing something about those various drains. In other words, you can see them in numerous places where it just goes out to the yeah, I'm sure up there.
How do I turn it off? Can you mount these and put them on the wall permanently? This would be
Or
fantastic.
at least put them up here.
I can give everybody copies of,
Drains there.
yeah, these
Yeah,
are
this
all,
one's by Beacon.
these are all drains. For instance, here's a drain that
The one
comes
that
out,
goes, yeah,
in right there.
right into that one.
Is this your house here?
Here's here's.
That is not my house.
Of course,
My
this
house
There is
is
a
right
drain right
is,
there.
Right.
Where's your house?
Drain.
This is
Is this
right
your
next to the launching
that's
ramp.
Right.
That was,
You know,
the
this is,
drain right
this
there.
this is right
This
next
is the
to.
old,
Yeah,
this is my house here, yeah.
yeah.
So this shows some of the pipes
Yeah,
leading to those
no,
outfalls,
That's an old picture.
but there's
Yeah.
a map of all the outfalls that's in the LWRP revision. It's a little smaller.
It has the same,
I would think it's got the
It should
same,
be, it should be the,
it should be the same.
this is
How do we get
fantastic.
copies?
Well, it's,
you have to, it's too big to email, so I have to give it to you on a disk, but.
you
Okay.
might want something smaller, but go for it.
Great.
Mounted there.
I'm just saying that this exists.
Where did you
and-
find in the village?
No, I've had it for quite some time. from-
Essentially, this is surface drainage that's being
Oh, look at,
collected and going right into surface
Which,
water.
where's,
It's just not ideal.
Then that makes me ask the question, like that Abtech sponge down at Havens, when is that due?
look at Long Point.
What about Long Point?
I'm not
This
sure
is
what
what
the
was
schedule
there.
is.
This is
Yeah.
what was
Because I
there.
always thought of those Abtech sponges to put in
That's
the
that was
drains that
torn
go
down.
out to the
Yeah.
bay. But given how
That's the new
difficult
base
it
messy,
seems
that's
to be
what
to
it
change them.
This is
Well,
like a-
not only that, they
Well,
just
That's
don't,
right.
Question as to how well they work.
they don't really work that well. And I've sort of like gone, you know, I don't make a big deal about seeing them
See, here's a-
hose them off and clean
Some
them
sort
off
of
anymore, because
retention
there's
is
just
better,
not
like
that
a
much
rainwater
difference
concept.
before or after. Right, that's what
Well, then
these
hosing it
things,
off in Havens Beach parking lot isn't a great thing.
so what?
If they hose it off in the parking lot.
They
in
don't.
Havens.
They don't. They don't. They take it to Columbia
How
Street.
recent are these? Do you know when
Post
these
them
were
off there.
taken?
This is 10 years old. These are, I believe these are 2013. Is the date on them.
Okay.
I don't know whether there's
Yeah,
been any
that's a choice.
significant changes since then, but
Good find.
They're fantastic. Well, I'm sure Aiden has copies of these.
well, I said, they've been around. I
We all
mean,
have copies of it in the LWRP.
In the smaller, yeah, but I
Yeah, in
mean,
the
it's-
smaller
yeah.
format.
Chick is familiar with them from doing the through the water quality project plan from 2016.
Yes, we had compiled that. I think originally the inventory was done by D&B under the MS4 program. And everything was digitized and mapped, and we did have that for the, as you said, John, the water quality improvement project plan, as well as the LWRP update.
That's not the way to do that, though.
I
because
think
a lot of these
I think there's something to be said for
like the one on
updating
Mill
that
Beach
and,
is
and
under the water.
and looking at
and it
what
surfaces about 10
outfalls
feet.
have been dealt with, issues have been mitigated and
But
what's still,
it
what
doesn't show
still
the
need to be
outfall
dealt
pipe.
with.
It's underwater where it exits. And the same thing on Amherst. So it's not like these pipes are
Thank
are
you.
That's great,
visible
thank you.
Thank you, John.
on the surface. Some of them go underneath the ground and then exit into the water underwater. That's the way Amherst does it, and that's the way Windmill Beach does it, and that's the way a lot of them do it. So it's not something that you would do an aerial photograph of and be able to catch them all. Some of them, like the one over at Cor Maria, is right there out in the open. But some of them are not.
What kind of vehicle takes this photograph?
What kind of
A blimp, an airplane?
I assume it's a satellite photo.
Do I hear a motion for adjournment?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Good job, guys.
One thing I didn't do is say hello to Liz and welcome aboard.
Oh, really? Welcome aboard.
Yeah.
All right.
Big shoes to fill.
Yeah.